Hey everyone, welcome back to OCD Recovery's YouTube channel. I wanted to talk about the reality and the practical applications about OCD recovery and what things that you might want to understand maybe a little bit better than you may understand now, how things are going to affect your journey, why it's not a quick fix, and why you can have some of the worst setbacks that you've ever had years into working into your recovery process. So, the OCD recovery journey is much more difficult than the majority of people want to say. Now, there's a real big problem when we go about OCD recovery. We really delude people of what they're going to experience. Now, when someone comes in for the first time to a coaching call or a webinar or anything like that, you don't want to, nail them to the wall with, oh, this could take you 5 years. Because then they get overwhelmed, understandably so, and then they really freak out. But what you do want to do is actually approach it in a way to where you say to them, look, the way you feel right now is more than likely not going away anytime soon. And covering that is so important because so many people think they're going to get better in 3, 2, 4, 5 months. Now, that doesn't mean you can't have your life back in 2, 3, 4, 5 months, because that's very important. You could definitely be back at work. Something Paul Little and I both talk about in our videos is that we were both back to work. We both were going to the gym again. We were both exercising. We were doing everything that we wanted to do in life, but we were experiencing a lot of physical symptoms of anxiety. We were experiencing a lot of depersonalization and derealization. I just got back from working out with one of my new friends. I met this kid, he's a mobile personal trainer. I met him on a Facebook group, of course. I messaged him and was like, hey, you want to be friends? That's what I do to people. So, and understanding that physical symptoms will come, go, stay for months, flip around, change, is such an important part of the recovery process, because when you work on your beliefs, the beliefs you hold right now have been instilled in you for a very long time, which is completely fine. So those beliefs are not just going to lift automatically. It takes time to make behavioral changes. It takes time to have perspective shifts when you're out. Maybe you might be somewhere and you might read an article about a really unfortunate event that happened to 20 people in life, like a bus maybe crashing and everyone on the bus dying, and you realize how short life is, and you realize how lucky you are to be alive. All these little perspective shifts along the way have been very, very important to my recovery process. But I experienced physical symptoms of discomfort for years, even when I was working on my OCD recovery. It took me almost 3 years to get better from sensory motor OCD. Years. We're not talking months. We're definitely not talking weeks. We're talking years. Now, again, at 1 year and 2 years, my 1 year, I was in a really good spot. I barely had any intrusive sensation, thoughts, images relating to my sensory motor, and I had a really big period of time where I felt really good. And then I had a really terrible relapse with my body dysmorphia, which lasted about another year. So it goes to show you that, and there's many people that we talk to, maybe you had existential and harm OCD and you got over those, now you have POCD. Maybe you had POCD and now you have sensory motor OCD. Every time you recover from a fear, you instill a really good level of acceptance in those particular areas. But just because you're still suffering with other themes doesn't mean you haven't made progress. So it's important to cover the grand spectrum of what's really happening in the OCD recovery journey. Now, a lot of people hear me talk about the practicality of OCD. So what do we not need to understand? Nothing about anatomy, nothing about physiology, nothing about hormones, nothing about deadlines and timelines, nothing about neuroplasticity. That doesn't mean you can't read up on those, but you probably don't need to read up on those ever in your life again, unless you're a neuroscientist. And we have seen neuroscientists who have a wide understanding about neurophysiology and neuroanatomy, and yet they don't have the practical application to get better from OCD. It's not their fault, they just don't know any better, and that's really important to cover because we're trying to run around in circles and get better and do this and do that, and so it's really key to cover that. What you do want to understand is that you'll more than likely be uncomfortable for a very long time. that OCD recovery takes a really long time. That setbacks and relapses can happen anywhere, anytime, anyway, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts. If you try to catch OCD and force acceptance, as many people hear me say, it's like trying to catch smoke with your bare hands, and it's a futile pursuit, and you'll never be able to do that. Acceptance is sitting in a chair and realizing everything that's going on. It's very close to mindfulness. So I've totally changed my perspective on mindfulness. I think one of the most important things about the OCD recovery journey that I've been able to instill in me is my ability to be open-minded towards conversations that I would have never had conversations about. And that can be religion, economics, money, political agendas, all the big topics that many people get very emotionally charged over. I no longer need to be emotionally charged over. I don't believe in God. It doesn't mean if you believe in God, there's anything wrong with that. And I have no problem speaking to people who believe in Christianity or Catholicism, or Jewish or Muslim or anything like that, and having conversations. Whether they agree with me or not is not the point. Just the point is to have a conversation. And I think that a lot of people are missing that. And I think one of the number one signs of human maturity, besides taking personal responsibility for your own recovery journey, as Jim Rohn said, Tony Robbins' old mentor who died in 2007, is that being open-minded to other concepts is really important. So I was definitely biased about mindfulness. Once I realized that wearing anxiety like an uncomfortable coat is like a form of meditation in itself, I changed my tune on that, and I have no problem saying that. A lot of people are afraid to say when they are wrong or when they change their mind because of societal beliefs about perfectionism. We should always be right and everything like that. So perfectionism isn't real. When you're going through the recovery process, you will try to perfect everything. You're going to try to perfect the amount you dispute, your fears, doing your hierarchies of exposures, your timelines, but that's not how OCD works. The biggest mistake I made, and I just did a video called My 5 Biggest Mistakes, but the biggest mistake I made was anytime I felt physical discomfort, reaching out immediately and asking for help in that second. Every time you do that, this doesn't mean you can never reach out for help. Every time you feel uncomfortable and you immediately jumped to needing to get help right now, what you do is you instill that low frustration tolerance, which is a huge problem. So you instill that, I need to know the answer right now. I need to have this right now. Erica's right there making coffee. She just waved at me. So when you are uncomfortable, I know it's really difficult, but you want to refrain from doing that. You want to allow yourself to feel all the discomfort you're feeling and realize that it's okay to feel all this discomfort. It's okay to look a certain way. It's okay to not go to the gym. It's okay to eat pizza. People are going to judge you your entire life, and you don't need to prove yourself to anyone. That is acceptance. And those are the things we want to work towards. And remember, agreement doesn't mean acceptance. And that's really important to cover. So I just wanted to jump on here and make that video talking about some of the practical applications about OCD. When I tell you that OCD recovery takes a really long time, I don't mean that to discourage you. I said it because it's the truth. And it takes a very long time to change some of those beliefs that you've been holding for a really long time that are sticky. So thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button. We have a bunch of webinars coming up, POCD, ROCD, acceptance. We just had a huge turnout for the fear. If you're interested in those webinar services, just email phil@ocdrecovery.com. And coaching as well, whether you want to do coaching with me, Rob, maybe another moderator like Momin. Good luck. Oh boy, imagine doing the one-to-one with Momin. Whew. No, I'm kidding. Momin's a great guy. I definitely recommend anyone who's really struggling with contamination OCD and they're looking for coaching services to please reach out to phil@ocdrecovery.com and ask to book some sessions with Momin. As Momin's experiences with contamination OCD are amazing. And he has a really unique insight into that. So thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.